which is related to project integration management. Okay, now in this chapter, okay, we are going to talk about one of the knowledge areas. It's very important area, because in this area we need to look at all the areas, and I'll just skip this to the. So this knowledge area looks at the big picture, okay, and looking at this diagram here, you can see that in project integration, your task is to make sure, and as a project manager, make sure that all of these, that all of these areas, let me just, all of these areas are integrated, okay? And your role is to coordinate between all of these areas, okay? And this is what we call a big picture, because it's, you need to see not just I want to finish the project on time. No, you need to finish the project on time, fulfilling the complete scope without exceeding the budget, meeting the quality standards that were set, okay, using resources wisely, communicating properly with everyone is communicating with you, and you're communicating with everyone properly. Stakeholders are satisfied, procurement is done properly, you kept in mind all the risks that you're going to encounter, and if they happen, what you're going to deal with them, or how did you deal with these risks, okay? So all these need to be in your mind as a project manager, and you need to coordinate everything with everything, okay? Now, in this knowledge area, okay, we have 6 processes, okay? You develop the project charter, okay? And you develop the project management plan. So the outcome of this, the first one, developing the project charter, is the charter itself, the project charter, the document, okay, which is the formal authorization of the project. This is it starts the project, okay, and it is documented and it's legal, and it is a commitment from you as a project manager that you are going to deliver the project on time, within budget, according to the scope that it is stated in that document, okay? Then you develop the project management plan. In the project management plan, you will come out with a plan, a document, that you considered every aspect of the project. In this plan, you will have sections related to all of the knowledge areas. The 10 knowledge areas, it will be mentioned in all of these sections of this document, okay? Now, the project management plan, you can look at it as one document, okay? And sometimes it is divided into different documents. What we follow here is that this is one plan, and it has subsidiaries, okay? There are some other documents that they form this whole project management plan, okay? Then in integration, now because you are integrating, so this is what you are doing, and you create the project charter, so you need to integrate all the knowledge areas. You put everything in the project charter, شوية من البudget, little from the scope, little from the time, little from the risk. So everything, you are dealing with all the knowledge areas to compile this charter. Similarly for the management plan, okay, project management plan. And then when you start executing, you direct and manage the work, okay? you have to do this because it's stated there in the plan. La, you need some resources. You ensure that the resources comes to this employee, and you do this, you do this. So this is how you work on directing and managing the work. Okay, so this is part also of the integration management process. You also do monitoring and control. Okay, you perform integrated change control. You monitor. Okay, if you find any deviations, then you have to what? You have to do some changes. You do some control on the changes. Um, some changes, yani you have to do. Some you have the option. You have to consider them. Do we need to do that? And if we do them, how they're going to affect the project? So this is also another process that related to the monitoring controlling. And at the end, closing the project and phase, as we mentioned earlier, you need to ensure that the product is delivered, or the end outcome is delivered, and the project is closed properly. Yani all the sign-offs have been done, and all the documentation is done with the lessons learned, and all the documents has to be submitted to the stakeholders. Okay, so this is briefly what are these 6 processes. And this diagram here shows all these processes. Okay, so you can see here, this is the first one, process number 1. This is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I think you noticed that this is the initiation phase. Okay, this is planning, this is executing, monitoring and controlling, and closing. Now you can see that there is some kind of sequence, but it is not a complete end of this phase and start of this phase. No, they start together. So you can see here that there is a difference. But in monitoring, maybe here it's not clear. Maybe in the coming chapters you will see that it starts from very early stages. Okay, and this is why monitoring and controlling is there, because you should monitor and control everything from the initiation of the project. When you are starting documenting your project charter, you need to monitor things. Okay, and this is what you are doing in the integration. Okay, so you can see here, and it also mentions the output of each of these processes. You can see here in the execution you have updates, lots of updates. See, even here, updates. Okay, updates. You always need to update things. Okay, if you do some changes in any place, you need to update the rest. Okay, and mostly here you are updating the project management plan. Any change happens, you need to go for the project management plan and update it. This is the main document that has to be updated all the time. 4, project integration management. Last time we stopped here where we had a look at all the processes that are related to the project integration management knowledge area, and we went through them briefly, the processes and their outputs. As you can see, we have 5 processes here, sorry, 6 processes. And today we're going to see what are these processes in more details. Okay, so the first process is the developing a project charter. Developing the project charter is the first process or step that you start in a project, because this is the formal document that recognizes your existence as a project. Okay, and it will have all the objectives, the directions, the scope of the project. Okay, it's all there. And this is a binding document, means it's a legal document that obligates you as a project manager to the sponsors to fulfill that project. Now, this document has to be signed by the stakeholders, usually the sponsor and maybe a senior official, and if there are some other clients involved, yani from the other outside the organization. They have to all sign this document, and this is part of the project integration management knowledge area. So this is the document, that's the output. This document also in organizations, they use this document as like a contract in between the departments, okay, and the project manager. But sometimes if you are providing this project, you are developing a project for someone like a client, he's outside the organization. In these cases, usually the project charter is too short to have. Okay, you need to be very clear, very specific, because that's a different entity. So usually they substitute this project charter with a contract. Excuse me. So the contract is more lengthy document which states everything and explains the definitions, every term that you're going to mention in the document has to be explained. It has to be very clear who's the sponsor, described, and you go into more details. Okay, who are the parties involved in the project? Lots of information also has to be included. Penalty clauses, like if something went wrong, who's going to be responsible on مثلا reimbursing or compensating, or all these has to be went through, go through it thoroughly. And a contract could be 10 pages, 20 pages, maybe it goes more than that also. Okay, so it's a detailed document. Okay, but it works as the same purpose. It is the same as the project charter, but the project charter is a shorter version, and it's usually done for internal commission of projects. Now, what do we have in the project charter? What do we include? To start writing the project charter, first you need to have the statement of work. What is it that you're going to do? Okay, we also covered this part earlier. Then you need to have the business case, and we mentioned it earlier that this is where you sell the idea of your project to the top management or to the sponsor. Okay, you want to convince them that this project is beneficial for us. Okay, that it's going to reduce cost, for example, or it's going to increase our revenue. It will grow our market share. It will improve, say, the quality of the products or the production system, something like this. And you need to convince them that whatever that they are going to pay as a cost in this project, it will be rewarded later with something greater. So the benefit has to be more than the cost. Okay. Also, you need to have some agreements. Sometimes there are some agreements between companies, or agreements between the organization with the regulating body in the country. Like if you are a bank, you need to have you need to follow some kind of regulations. Now, by nature, all the regulatory, governmental regulatory institutions, their laws are enforced by law, so you have to follow. But in some cases, there might be some kind of like agreements. Okay, these agreements will be considered when you are doing the project. For example, if you are going to develop a system, this system, application, this application has to include some kind of integration with another system for another entity. Maybe it's a government entity or another corporate entity. So these has to be also considered and included also. Sometimes you have to attach them to the project charter. Also, the enterprise environmental factors. You need to understand the environment, okay, you're operating in, and what are the factors that will affect your enterprise. These has to be also considered and has to be also raised there in the project charter, like what risks you might face, physical risk or some other financial risk, or some risk can come from different sources. It can be a market risk, it can be a technical risk, organizational risk, human risk. Okay, maybe people might do some errors or some problems caused by the user. So you need to also cater for these from the beginning. Now you will hear this term along the course, which is the organizational process assets. Organizational process assets is any of these. It could be a formal and informal plan. Okay, that's an asset for the organization. If you remember, we talked earlier about what is an asset. Asset is basically something that you own in the organization, and it is used in your business operations. And usually it is used to generate business or to generate money. Okay, so for example, if you are a restaurant and you are so you're basically selling food, so your oven, for example, is an asset because you're using this oven to cook your dishes, which is your main business, right? The main product that you sell. So this is an asset. Okay, but if you are using napkins, tissues, or plastic forks or something, these are not assets. These are disposables. Okay, so you expense them. Okay, you use them and then you dispose them. You just throw them. So it's not an asset. It doesn't remain, and you can use it for several times to generate money. Okay, and like this. These assets could be formal and informal plans that you create, and these will be considered as assets because it will, if you follow these plans, it will generate money for you. Also, policies. If you have policies will guide the business, how it's running, how things are conducted, and again, it has relation to your existence and your continuity in the business. Procedures, similar but more detailed. Guidelines, again, similar. Information systems, if you have an application, okay, system that you are using to enter data and keep some your information, your data, documents, whatever, it's all in an information system. Financial systems, if you have also an accounting system, or you have any kind of system, even if it's a manual system, this will be considered also as a process asset. Okay, management system. Okay, if you have any kind of procedures or systems, applications, also these will be considered as process assets. Lessons learned and historical information. Also, these documents, you possess them, so it's yours also. So it will be also considered as assets. Okay. The second process in the project integration management is knowledge area is the developing a project management plan. Now you have the project charter ready. It is done, signed by the sponsors, and it was approved in something called the kickoff meeting. Remember, I mentioned that in the previous class. You have a kickoff meeting that ignites, or it starts the project. So the project charter was signed and it was agreed upon, and then the project starts. Now your role as a project manager is to take this project charter, and you develop from this charter, you develop another document called the project management plan. Now, this document will be your guide for the execution. It will have all the information needed to execute the project. Now, this is, I always like to refer to it as in the project management plan. I always like to refer to it as the master plan. Okay, this is your master plan. Then you will have like subsidiary plans and under this plan. For example, you'll have a plan for time. You have a plan for scope, plan for cost, plan for quality, plan for risk, plan for communication, plan for procurement, plan for human resource, okay? Plan for your stakeholders management. I think I missed something, I don't know. Okay, so plan for quality. So you have all these knowledge areas. You will have some kind of a plan. Okay, it's like a document. It could be a paragraph in this project management plan, or a section, or maybe a separate document, but it is related to this. So in the project management plan, the master plan, you refer to that subsidiary plan. So when I say project management plan, I don't just mean one document. It could be a set of documents, but they all form the project management plan. Okay. What do we have in this project management plan? Now, in this plan, and I will give you an assignment related to this. In this plan, first you need to, it will have a section that will talk about the project in a brief way. So it's an overview of the project, okay, to introduce the project for anyone who will read this document. Keep in mind that in a project, when you start a project, maybe down the road, the project manager will leave the project, or some key persons will leave the project. Other people will come and replace them. Now, these people, they were not there from the beginning. But if you have a document that has everything that you wanted, that you discussed earlier, and that what you're going to do in the future, then this person can just look at these documents, study them well, and continue the work as he was there from the beginning. So this is why when we consider that anyone can who reads this document will understand what is the project and what is required, and it has to be very easy to understand. It gives all the information required for any person who's going to be involved and running or executing this project. Okay, so you need to have good introduction, good overview of the project, and then you have to also have a section that describe how the project is going to be organized. This is important also, because you need to know who is the project manager, who is leading the technical side of the project, who is leading the business analysis and designing of the interface, who is leading the database construction, who's doing the infrastructure, okay, who's going to buy the servers and fix them and connect them to the organization's network. And so these has to be shown, and usually we have like a project an organizational chart. Okay, you have an organizational chart which shows the positions, and then you have a table. In this table you will state the roles from the organizational chart. You will state the role and you will describe it. What is this role? Okay, he's the technical lead. What is the technical lead? This guy, this, and this, and this. Okay, and then you put all the tasks that he should take care of during the project. Okay, and you also in this table you put also the name of that person. Okay, because in the project charter you usually put only the titles. Okay, but in the table you put the title and you put the name in front of it as well. Okay. Management and technical processes used on the project. If you are following a methodology, remember in chapter 1 and 2, if you are following chapter 2 basically, if you are following a methodology, then of developing or producing something, then you should explain it also in the beginning here in this plan. As I mentioned in a minute, from just 2 minutes maybe back, that anyone who comes or joins the project, maybe he doesn't know your methodology, how you are dealing with some situations. But if he reads this paragraphs or section in the document, he will understand. Okay, you are following, for example, Scrum method. Okay, I know Scrum method. I know what are the artifacts required and what are the ceremonies of conducting a Scrum method. Okay, so you need to put all these technical description of the methods that you're going to use. Okay, and also you need to highlight what are the work tasks that you are going to conduct. Okay, so what work will be done. You will put the schedule. Remember the Gantt chart I showed you earlier, the schedule. All these has to be presented here again. Yani, some look at it as a repetition, but yani, you should also have this kind of overlap, because in the time management, project time management knowledge area, we will talk in details about the scheduling of tasks and resources and all these things, and you will prepare lengthy reports, okay, and schedules. But you need also to include these in the project management plan, okay. And when you update that schedule, you also come and update it here, okay. So schedules are there. Similarly for the budgets, you will have estimates, you have budgets, you will do them in the project cost management knowledge area. So it has to be done here. So all these has to be in the plan. Now let me just emphasize on a point here. Now you are at the planning phase, right? We are in the knowledge area, the integration knowledge area, but on which phase from the life cycle? We are in the planning phase, okay? So you have to keep in mind that in this phase, and the time that we are working on now, you are going to look at different knowledge areas at the same time. So for example, now I am talking about only the integration knowledge area, right? But in practice, when you reach to the point here where when you are developing your project management plan, you have to keep all these areas in your mind, okay? The time management, the scope management, the quality management, we said time, scope, cost, yeah, okay, risk management, everything has to be there. Here, execution, and then we have closing, right? And during all during this period, you have also monitoring and controlling. Now consider that this is your brain, okay? Change this to in planning, and this is your brain, okay? So you need to consider in planning, in this document, the project management plan, you have to consider all the knowledge areas. So cost, time, scope, risk, quality, and so on, okay? Now, because I cannot do all together, I need in explaining them here, so I will take each of these areas at once, and I will explain them. So in each chapter, I'm going to cover this. But bear in mind that they all have to happen at the same period here, from here to here, okay, for planning, okay? Yes, this is, because sometimes it's confusing because I'm talking about knowledge areas and then I jump to phases and then I go back to the knowledge areas. I know it's confusing. That's why I did the table from the beginning in chapter 3 to show you the processes that intersect between the knowledge areas and the phases. Okay, so I hope this is clear from now. Okay, so here in the planning we are doing lots of things. Okay, we put lots of areas in our work to ensure that we cover everything. We plan for everything. So if you look at this is an example which is related to also preparing the project management plan. This is for a software, and this is a very important part here. If you look at it, it's also available in the book. If you go back to the book, you will find it. For your assignment, this is a very important table because it shows here in the overview, which is this one, right? Here. Okay. So in the overview, what you should include. So here you see purpose, scope, objectives of the project, what are the assumptions, the constraints, and remember that these were discussed where have we mentioned these in the first place? In the project charter. Okay, so now here you read describe them here with a little bit of elaboration. Okay, the deliverables, schedule, budget, summary. Okay, evolution of the plan. Even here you have a section where you explain to the reader how this document is going to be evolved, or how you are going to update it all the time. So you can, for example, in some organizations, when they have long projects that they will take, say, 1 or 2 years, they mention also the frequency of updating the plan, okay, and how it's going to be updated, and the versioning system that they're going to use, and it's all considered or done here. Okay, also the project organization. Okay, I mentioned earlier the structure, the organizational structure. So you need to have some kind of the external interface is developed through the use case diagram. Remember the scenario, use case scenario that you studied in 311? You draw the actors and then you draw the ovals, the functions of the system, the cases, use cases. This is what you're going to do in the beginning. And then the internal structure. Internal structure is about the team, who is the project manager, who is leading this side, who is leading this side, who is doing the development, who's doing the design, who's doing the database, infrastructure, and like this. Okay, and roles and responsibilities will also be mentioned in a table. Okay, managerial process plans. Okay, startup plans, estimation, staffing, resource acquisition, project staff training plans. All these has to be there. Work plan. Okay, this will have all the activities. Now the work breakdown structure, WBS, is one place to start with. Okay, but later each task or each activity in the work breakdown structure, it has to be also explained, and we will cover this in chapter 5 in the scope management. Okay, and in the next chapter. It's you go into much details. You create the dictionary, work breakdown structure dictionary. It's like providing metadata of the tasks. We will cover this later. Okay, especially similarly for the schedules, you need more details about the scheduling, resourcing, budgeting. All these we'll cover them when we reach to their knowledge areas. Okay, what is your plan to control the tasks and to control changes that happens throughout the project? What is your risk management plan? Okay, how, and it's not just mentioning the risks, but you also need to state how you're going to deal with the risk if they occur. Okay, if a risk occurs, what we're going to do? And this will be discussed in the chapter also, the risk chapter, but we're not covering it here. But for example, some risks you cannot avoid. Okay, now you can say, okay, there might be some risks related to the project. We can just avoid them. We will not go into that area. We are not going to use that technology, so we will avoid that risk. That's fine. But in some cases, you cannot avoid the risk, okay, because you need to deal with this technology, and the risk is there. So then you have other options, and you have to state them. For example, we will mitigate the effect if it happens. So how? You put the necessary steps that you're going to do. If the risk happens, we will do this and this and this, and this will reduce the impact on us, okay? Or you transfer the risk on someone else, okay? And transferring the risk is basically it's done through insurance, okay? You pay a certain amount for an insurance company. If this risk happens, you only have to pay whatever you are paying, and the premium that you are going to pay, let's say monthly or yearly. That's the only amount that you're going to pay. Anything else, that's the insurance responsibility. They will take care of it. So these are some of the actions, okay? And also your closeout plan, how you're going to close the project, okay? When you are done, okay, your team, how you are going to redistribute them, or you end their contract, or what, you have to also explain this. How if you have material, how you're going to dispose the waste, how you're going to hand over the system or the products to your client or the sponsor, okay? And the rest of the plan, closing, for example, lessons learned, where you're going to write them, what you're going to include in them, and where you're going to document them, who's going to review them, these things, okay? See, all these has to be documented, written in like paragraphs explaining things, okay, in this document. Technical process plan, process models, methods, tools. We mentioned this earlier. Okay, so what methodology are going to follow? How we are going to ensure that the product is tested and it is running as expected. Okay, so you need to have some kind of acceptance plan. Okay, how you're going to show your users or the output, and how it's going to be reviewed, and how it's going to be approved. Is it just signing or doing something else? Okay, it has to be also explained. Supporting process plans. These are supporting process, like configuration management, how to deal with configuration management, how we are going to ensure that all the specifications are done properly, or executed properly according to the plan, verify and validate the plans. Now, how to ensure that your plan is always updated, or that the information in this plan is correct or accurate. Okay, so you need to have also a plan to ensure that your plan is accurate and it's updated all the time. Okay. Reviews and audits, when you are going to do the reviews, okay, so each document or each task or that's completed need to be reviewed by someone else to ensure that they did the work as planned. You can use auditors, internal or external, someone who comes and check. Problem resolution plan also, you can put these are optional, but you can have them there. If you have some subcontractors, process improvement plans, in projects you need to always improve not just the product that you are producing, but also the process that you are using to produce the product. And this is also this will ensure that always you are always updated. You conserve waste and resources. You don't waste lots of your material or your efforts, resources. Okay, so this is very important table you should consider. The third process is directing and managing project, and basically here this is the execution. Okay, in execution, in integration knowledge area, you're from the name you have to integrate. So you start coordinating with the people, coordinating to ensure that the resources are available, funds are available, removing any obstacles. So it is ensuring that the performance is running smoothly according to the plan. Okay, so you are just managing things. Okay, you ensure that everyone is doing what he is supposed to do. Okay. So that's now under this process. I just started saying this. Planning, coordinating and planning the execution. Planning and execution are inter activities. So I think the picture here shows it. Things are intertwined. So you need to ensure that it is intertwined properly, okay, and according to the plan. Also, you need to ensure that now, because you are in planning, you need to ensure that those who are going to do the work are actually involved in the plan. Because you ask the developer, the software developer, you will ask the developer to write some codes, right? You need to let them understand why they are writing these codes. So involve them in the planning to know exactly why they are doing this. Okay, and it's not just that. Also, when you involve them early in the planning, you will, because they are experienced more than you in coding, they will give you lots of information, feedback about your plan. Well, your plan is not sufficient. You need more of these resources, or maybe the time is not sufficient. We need more time, or the opposite. Maybe say, you placed lots of resources for this task. It will not take that much of work and resources. You can reduce them, so you are saving also, right? So this is something that you have to consider the execution of the project in the integration area. Now, to have good execution, you need to have these three. First, you need expert judgment. Okay, you need someone who is very good in this area and in the project, in this project area. If it's construction, you need someone experienced in construction. If it is software development, you need experts in the software development. Mobile application development, you need someone who is expert in the mobile application development. So you need these to help you make the decisions and execute the project properly. Also, success factor in execution is having meetings. Meeting with the people who develop the application, people who are going to use the application is very important, because this relationship that you are going to create with them and the way that you're going to interact, okay, and especially if it's a face-to-face interaction, this will help you to understand the problems that you're going to face during the project, and it will help you to resolve them properly. So you need to have lots of meetings, and usually in projects you have lots of meetings, like a progress meeting. You check about how the process is running. So you every week or every day, it depends on the sensitivity of the project. Some projects you have to meet every day. Some projects you need to meet every week and see what was done throughout that period, and then you can take some actions. So meetings are very important. You need to have lots of meetings during the project to get the feedback from the team, to give them more instructions, guide them, look at the performance and see progress, if it needs some improvements, if it needs some alteration, something like this. Okay. The third point, or the third factor also that will help you and to be considered also as a success factor, is the information system that you are using to manage the project. Now, there are lots of softwares available in the market, but for the integration purpose and execution, you need to have a software that will help you, because coordinating things and documenting and following up with many people, lots of tasks, it's difficult. You need some software with a dashboard, with some screens, some information, some assignment features. You can assign this task to this person, assign this task to this person. It will show you the budget and the actual versus plan, variances, and all these things has to be also there in a software that will help you to do it properly. Monitoring and controlling, change are always there in projects. Once you start running the project, there will be some problems, okay, some flaws in the system. To take some actions to solve these problems, okay? And you cannot do this without collecting measures and information about the performance. You need to measure the progress, okay? So that you know if there is something wrong, then you start the action, okay? And in the monitoring and controlling phase, especially in the integration management, you need to look at variances on the baseline. The baseline is actually the approved project management plan. Okay, that will be your baseline, and you will hear me repeating this baseline in each and every knowledge area that you are going to cover, because this the baseline is related to the schedule. The baseline is related to the scope. The baseline is related to the cost, the budget. Okay, the baseline is related to the rest of the plans. So the project management plan, the master plan that I just mentioned earlier, after it's approved, when it gets approved by the sponsor or the project senior managers, this will be your baseline. So anything you do in reality, it has to compare with this baseline, your plan. Okay. And now, if you notice that there is a problem in the plan and you want to modify it or you have to change, then you need these changes to be approved. Okay. So any change in the baseline, any change in the plan, after approval, need to go through a change process in to approve that change. Also, you don't change after approval. You don't change. You do whatever it was agreed there and it was signed. Okay. But if you need to change, then we have a process. We call it the change request process, and we will come to it in a minute. Okay. And in changes, okay, you need to influence the factors that create the change, okay, to ensure that they are beneficial. Yani if some changes that are going to happen, you have to ensure that these changes are beneficial. They are not changes that are going to ruin your work, or it's going to cost you more money, or it will reduce the features of the system. Okay, you have to ensure that it is beneficial change. Also, determining that change has occurred. Now, sometimes maybe the change is requested, okay, and then it was approved, but no one did that change. You got all the documents, it was okay, checked and approved, but no one went and did the change physically. So you have to ensure that the change, the approved change, are implemented. Okay, managing actual changes as they occur, and also this is, these 2 points are the same. You should also manage the changes. So managing is again getting the approvals and revising the documents, the plans, and after approving, you have to update all the relevant plans and documents of the project. Okay, so that you stay always on top of the work. Now, there are 2 views in project management. There are 2 views about changing, controlling the change in IT projects. There is the old school, the former view. The former view look at the project as a plan, fixed plan, time and cost and task, and you have to follow it. That's it. Any change to it is something unfavorable. You don't want it, and you fight for not changing that plan. Now, the problem is that these plans, most of the time, the stakeholders will not give you a complete agreement on this scope, okay, or still they are not confident that these are the costs that they want, or these are the features that they want, or this is the quality that they are seeking. So in the beginning, still, we mentioned this earlier in the phases, that in the early phases, uncertainty is there. So this is a problem for you. Okay, so any change is a problem for you. The modern view, it is different. Now, what we say is that in project management, you need to constantly communicate, negotiate. So we accept changes, but the beneficial changes only, okay? And we should always negotiate, okay? And we should always be flexible in planning. So when every time a change happens, we should have agile processes, flexible processes that will accept any change. Okay? And this is where you become better in producing or completing your project or fulfilling your projects successfully, when you have agile processes, flexible, dynamic processes, okay, that changes according to your need, okay. And you need always the 2 key points here is the communication. The project manager role, or mainly, is communicating every the project and even outside the project. This is your main task as a project manager. You have to be a good communicator, okay, and also a good negotiator, because what happens in the organizations that they always force you, or they exercise some pressure on you to get more from your project. Okay, and if you are not well experienced or trained in negotiation, you will have hard times. Okay, they will place on you lots of burdens, lots of tasks, and if you can't say no, or you cannot negotiate properly, and you just accept, then at the end you will reach to a point where you cannot fulfill all these promises, and the project fail. So you need to practice good negotiation skills in this regard. Okay, going back to the change control system that I mentioned also there, you need to have a change control system, and this is like a formal documented way of doing any change. We say that we have the plan approved. That's the baseline. خلاص, now you have to stick to that plan. Any changes, say sorry, I cannot do any changes. If you want, write a document, something called the change request form. Okay, you write whatever you want to change, and you explain to us why you want this change, and then it goes to a group called the CCB, okay, Change Control Board, and they will authorize that change. Okay, so the CCB, the Change Control Board, is a group, formal group in the organization, and it's usually formed from people from the organization, and sometimes from also the client side. If there's a client outside the organization, he has to be also involved. This board will review all the changes requests, okay, and either they will approve them or reject. It depends on the strategy, the cost, the benefits that they're going to get. Okay, they have to do this, and so this board will give you specific procedure to follow in order to ask for change. Okay. Also, they will evaluate the changes we said. Okay, so they will evaluate them, and then they will approve or they will reject. And they also manage the implementation of the approved changes. And if they approve a change, they will also ask you to provide them with kind of like a progress or status. What happened to this change? Did you do it? Did you implement it? What was the result from implementing it? And they will also follow up with you. Okay. Now, the problem with this CCB is that sometimes you need to decisions very quick, and this board usually meets, let's say, once a month, or they're not there all the time. Okay, if there's they might have like occasional meetings. Okay, but if you need to take a decision today or tonight, okay, you're building a building and there is something that you have to do now, otherwise the structure will collapse. Then what's the, I want to change, otherwise we will face problems. So here, many organizations, they have something called the time sensitivity change policy. They call it the 48 hours policy. What happens is that the project manager, in these very strict and sensitive situations, he can make the decisions, okay, without going back to the CBB, but within 48 hours, he has to reverse the decision pending to the senior management. So what he is going to do is that you do the changes, but you are required by the policy and by the law of the organization that within 48 hours, you need to go and show the top management what are these changes and get them approved. Okay, even if you do them, you need to go and do the procedure within 48 hours. Okay, and this has to be طبعا this is delegating this work to the lowest level possible. Keep informed that, well, we did this change, okay, and you did this change, okay, but you have to report that and you have to get it approved also within 48 hours. And this could be the project manager or someone also lower than him in the hierarchy, and that's based on the delegation policy that they follow. Management, basically, in the configuration management, you ensure that whatever you described in the specification of the product is actually implemented properly, and it's the product is developed correctly and all specifications are met. This is basically what they are trying to say here. Then the last phase is closing the project, and we mentioned this earlier. You need to ensure that the project is closed properly. Even if it's cancelled, you need to get things documented that this project is cancelled and it was approved by the sponsor. Okay, two main outputs: the final product and actually they have to be three. Final product or service or results of transition. Maybe you don't have a product or a service, but it's a transition project. You transit from or transform from manual work to system. Also, organizational process asset updates. Now, if you completed a system, an application, financial system, let's say, then this is added to your asset. Remember when I explained this in the beginning? This is called an asset, okay? So you have to include this in your assets. You update the assets list, okay? And one more thing here that's not mentioned is the lessons learned. You have to document the lessons learned. Throughout this experience, you face some challenges, some troubles. You need to document them and document how you resolve these. This will help you in the future projects, or it will help your colleagues in the organization if they are doing a similar project. This is, I think, the last slide here. Yeah. So in project integration management knowledge area, you can make use of the software available. You can go for a very basic application like a word processing software, like Word. Okay, you use it for writing the plan, for example. Okay, so you don't want to write it by pen and paper, and you need to document it, type it, document it properly, save it, and okay. So you can use documents. You can do some presentations to show your sponsors or to show your team what's going on. Okay, so you can utilize the presentation software, especially for meetings and showing the progress and all these things. You can use the spreadsheets like Excel and other software or databases to track the changes and track the consumption of resources and the consumption of the budget, the tasks completed. Okay, track the progress of the task. You can use communication software like an email or some kind of like tools like WhatsApp or whatever, any communication tool that will help you to keep communication open and bidirectional in the project. And you can go for much more sophisticated applications. These are the project management software where you have more features and it is customized for projects, and you have the experience in Microsoft project. You will have this, inshallah. I think you will start this week. Okay, you will use Microsoft project, and you will see how it is easy and make things much easier for you, especially summarizing things and showing reports about the project. And in some organizations, they also go for some tools called the business service management, and these are tools that track your execution. Okay, it's a process-based system that they show you the processes. Okay, the flow of the process and how it's working. This is an example of one of the systems called projectmanager.com. You can go to this website. They have lots of resources. Very good website. And you can see these screens here. It shows you how your portfolio of projects. So you have here some projects, and it will show you your progress in terms of time, cost, resources, okay, the overall progress, okay, and also some other parameters like efficiency and others. Okay, so here you can see the projects. You can see some graphs here show you what's happening. Okay, concentrating on some risks, some maybe some other financial data. You can compare projects, like you can see here. You can compare the projects and see how they're performing. What is the baseline, the approval? When you can see the yellow, this is the plan. Okay, the baseline. This is the green is the plan, and this is the actual. We will also see what's the difference when we reach to the knowledge area, the cost knowledge area, where we will discuss the EVM. It will explain what's the difference between actual plan and baseline.